The word says, "But the Lord said to her, My dear Martha, you are worried and upset over all these details. There's only one thing worth being concerned about. Mary discovered it, and it will not be taken away," meaning it will not be disconnected. What is it that Mary discovered? What is this? Because Martha had a servant's heart, she was preparing. Martha was the one that called Jesus in and invited him. But Mary was the one that listened to God and his teaching. She was sitting at his feet. What did Mary discover that will never disconnect her from Christ? To stay in his presence. She knew as long as she can stay in his presence, as long as she can listen to his teaching, continuously getting the oil, being in his presence, it can never disconnect her from her Father. So it doesn't matter if you serve, stay in God's presence. If you want a servant's heart, always make sure you stay in God's presence. If you want a big meeting, stay in his presence. If you want to prosper in your final exams, stay in his presence. If you wanted to prosper, stay in his presence. Family of God, I shared the prophetic word this morning. David was never invited to sacrifice, but he stayed in God's presence, and God called him forth, and God anointed him. He recognizes him. God recognizes you. But God says, I need you to discover, to be in my presence is much more powerful than to have my gifts. To be in my presence, receiving continuously oil, it's much better just to serve. And this is what God has for you. Stay in his presence, because he's going to call you forth.